The latest tech.
I'm Alexa. I can answer your questions.
Interviews.
There will be several dozen shows trickling in over the months.
Accessibility.
We're actually running a pilot scheme with the CNIB at the moment.
This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome to another edition of Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you want to get involved, the email address, feedback@AMI.CA. And if you want to find us, no problem, on Twitter, it is @DoubleTapCanada. I am Mark AFLALO, welcoming in Stephen Scott. Stephen, as you can tell, while most shows these days are staying indoors and doing a lot of things from home, we're doing the opposite. At least I'm doing the opposite because my set has changed here a little bit. This is the great outdoors at my home, which I know that I'm sure you're jealous of because you're inside the studio.
Well, I'm inside because where I am, it's raining. But it's always raining here, so you're the one who decided to go outside because it's sunny where you are. Lucky you.
But we're doing it for a special reason today, because while the summer kicks in and then the weather gets nicer, there is some cool tech to talk about that you can use in your backyard, in your front yard, generally outside, that will make your life a lot easier. And you know what, quite honestly, you'll have some more fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, getting out and about is the key, especially right now. I mean, as lockdown starts to ease and as we start to get back to whatever normality is going to be, it's really important that we, get outdoors. And through all of this, that's been the message. If you can go outside, go outside. But it'd be nice if we can take some tech with us, Mark.
Well, and most tech, I think, is portable. I think, when you talk about our smartphones, they're great cameras. When you talk about other tech, like, doorbells and stuff like that, there are things that are made for the outdoors. But when I talk about outdoors, Stephen, I'm wearing the sunglasses. I'm just like you. I've got the short sleeves on. This is like a total departure. This is me really being out of my element. But it's kind of in my element at the same time because it's my backyard. No one else can get in here. Lots of cool stuff, around me. Yeah, I've got the, typical stuff like the grill, that's over here. I've got your mosquito trap that's behind me to my left, which is kind of fun. But there's some really cool toys that, and you even hear the planes go by, which is what makes this kind of unique and kind of interesting. So I'm excited to talk about some of the things that make my outdoor living not only more fun, but also more functional, because there are things like watering the grass that if you had to do manually, you'd probably forget about it and end up with a lot of yellow patches like I do. I don't know about you. You get a lot of rain, so I don't know if it's an issue in Scotland, but it's something that I have to deal with every single year. And every single year I look out and go, oh my God, I have to deal with that again.
Well, the way I look at it is if you can automate the process, that means you don't have to worry about it. And that's the thing for me. I'm all for automation and smart technology that can take a lot of those challenges, shall we say, of outdoor gardening or just, dealing with cleaning outside or whatever it is that you want to do around the home. If you can automate it, even better.
So I've got a couple things that we're going to talk about this week. There's some things that actually didn't arrive in time for the filming of the show, but we're still going to talk about them as well because there's some pretty cool things that'll help make your life a lot easier. So if you guys want to get involved and got some ideas, no problem. The email address again, feedback@AMI.CA. On Twitter, it is @DoubleTapCanada. Let's take a quick break. We're going to reset a little bit, and we're going to come back and let's dive into some sound. Let's dive into some grilling. Let's dive into some lawn mowing. Lots of really cool stuff on the way. It is Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Mark AFLALO, and we'll be back in just a moment.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap. This is Double Tap TV.
Welcome back to Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. I am Mark AFLALO, as always, joined by Stephen Scott. If you're just tuning in or you weren't paying attention, I am outdoors. This is not just my new set, the wind in my hair and the airplanes flying overhead and the bustle of suburbia. No, I am actually outdoors because we're talking about outdoor tech that's going to make your life hopefully a lot easier. I know, Stephen, you just got a hot tub, so that's pretty much the extent of your outdoor tech, right?
It's not very smart, I'll be honest, but it is a hot tub, and I'm certainly not very smart in it. But what I will say is, it is great. I mean, even in the rain, and in Scotland you get a lot of rain, so you have to be prepared for that. However, I do like getting out there on the occasional sunny days, it's just a nice thing to get out and enjoy the outdoors a little bit and do it in a way which is a bit different. We can't go on holiday at the moment, so we may as well enjoy holiday at home. Now, what about you, Mark? Because I'm hearing a lovely soundscape there. Am I hearing water as well? Have you got a swimming pool there or something?
There's a pool over to my right that's definitely there. We're not going to talk too much about that because I want to talk about drowning out some of the other sounds that are around us, because just over yonder I've got a nice busy road, kind of two busy roads, so there tends to be some traffic noise here and there. But what I like to do first is I like to drown that out with the sound of beautiful music and radio stations and podcasts, and I do that thanks to the Sonos Move smart speaker. Now, Sonos is a brand I think that we're all very aware of. They were one of the first companies that pioneered connected speakers throughout your home. Wi-Fi connected, there's a whole app library so you can connect to your various streaming services, whether it's Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc., etc. But this speaker in particular is designed for the great outdoors for several reasons, Stephen. Number one, it's rated for water resistance and dust proof, and it's going to take a ticking and keep on. What's there? Take a licking and keep on ticking.
I've never heard that one.
For the great outdoors.
Yeah, I'll go with it.
It's more of a North American thing. It's designed to be sitting by the pool. It gives you this 360-degree, almost surround sound kind of experience. But what that really does when you're talking about outdoors, and sound is really important, is no matter where you are in your deck or in your pool area, you're going to get great sound because it really does point it in every single direction. And you get great bass response. It's got a nice rounded kind of sound. You can customize it with the Sonos app. You can even tune it to your environment. This is a feature that Sonos have had for a while where you can actually calibrate it for the environment. It learns what's going on around it. It doesn't work that great outdoors because it needs walls and things to calculate the distance between sound, like when it bounces and stuff like that. But for the outdoors, it's more just kind of all around speaker. But the cool thing about this is it's got a hunkin' battery in here. There's an 8-hour battery. They claim 10 hours. I've gotten about 8.5 hours of battery. When you walk in your home after you're done for a day, the cool thing is it comes with this charging ring that just sits somewhere in your home. And you just plop it down, and thanks to these contacts on the bottom over here, you can actually just charge that. You're never even thinking about it. So you're not going to fumble for cables. If you want to, you can plug a USB-C adapter in here and it will charge it as well if you can't find that ring. But it's a great feature to have. The other thing that the speaker has, which is really neat, it's got both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So if you want to just connect your phone to it via Bluetooth and play music that way, you can do that kind of the traditional way. Or if you've got strong enough Wi-Fi signal outdoor, you can keep it connected to the Sonos app and everything that goes along with Sonos, and it actually plays and streams that music quite well. Very, very, very convenient, and a very, very nice design. It's still got that cylindrical kind of design, a little bit more oval than the kind of play one cylinder speakers, but it's a really good addition to your backyard.
Yeah, it's a lovely rounded speaker. I like the sound that Sonos gives. I've always been impressed by Sonos sound. That app that you control it with is always very accessible as well. It has had a few issues in the past, but it certainly is very accessible, which is brilliant. So, great feature there. I like the waterproof element because, and we're going to skip over the fact you don't want to talk about your pool. I'm guessing it's not been cleaned out. I'm just putting that out there. But let's move past that and let's talk about the hot tub, because the hot tub is for me a great place to just chill out and listen to music. Although when the bubbles are on, it gets a little bit noisy, so it's not perfect, but at least I can hear some music. And trying to do that with a very small, in my case, a very small outdoor Bose speaker, which was the Bose SoundLink 2, which is a great speaker, but it just wasn't powerful enough. So my question to you is, how powerful is the sound from this thing? If you had the bubbles on in the hot tub, can you hear it all right?
Absolutely. You can when you crank this thing to 10 indoors would be way too loud for the grandmother to be around it, but you can definitely crank it loud enough to get over the bubbles and to get over kids playing in the pool, to ignore the traffic sounds that might be around you. It definitely is loud enough, and at the same time continues to give you good quality sound, because sometimes you crank these speakers and you get distortion and you don't get the quality sound that you would expect when you're at a lower volume, but this is really good straight up to number 10.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds like a really good device and great potential in it. And the waterproof aspect, I mean, if you dropped it in the hot tub or the pool, are you in trouble?
I wouldn't want to drop it in the pool. They say water resistant.
Yeah.
So it can take a splash. It can handle some rain, or if you bring it to the beach, it can definitely get splashed by the kids. I wouldn't drop it in a pool. I have had a speaker before that was totally waterproof. Even then, completely sealed. I've thrown it in the pool just for fun to try it out, but it never really worked the same afterwards. So I don't recommend, even when they say something is waterproof, that you actually throw it in the pool.
Yeah, they
Unless
say that.
you didn't pay for it.
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it. Yeah, I mean, the Bose frames that I wear all the time, these are what I'm wearing today on my head. I was in the hot tub and my wife splashed me in the hot tub, and all of a sudden one of the speakers gave out and just would not give me any audio, and I thought, I've broken them. And then I thought, well, they must be in some way water resistant. They are, and thankfully, after a while, the sound did start to come back. But if you submerge them in water, like your Sonos Move, it probably wouldn't last very long.
Let's talk about the pool for a second, because there's another device that I wanted to talk about, and it's called Phin, P-H-I-N. Very small, kind of white. It's hard to even describe this, but they use the word fin because of the pH for the chemical, obviously the reading. But fin also kind of like a shark fin, because it floats in your pool or your hot tub, and it's constantly reporting to an app, when you actually launch that app, what the chemical balance is in your hot tub or your pool. Now, depending on the type of pool you have, I've got a saltwater pool, so there's not much balancing going on. It really does deal with that naturally. My hot tub, on the other hand, you would think smaller body of water, easier to balance. No way, man. It's constantly a challenge to make sure that there's no algae, to make sure the water doesn't turn a different color of green, to make sure that it smells right. So it's really a challenge to get that hot tub balanced just right. So having this little device actually sit in the water at all times, you can actually open the Phin app, take a look and see, okay, exactly what needs to be adjusted, and you can do the fine-tuning yourself. I don't know about you and your hot tub, but we've got some pool stores where we have to bring water samples to, and they'll do this thorough testing. Well, Phin replaces that need. I no longer have to bring my water to be tested. I no longer have to put drops and try to compare colors and try to figure out what's going on, because Phin will report everything I need to do, and I can actually do it, and it's worked out quite well. In the pool, as I said, not really needed in the saltwater pool, but if you've got just a regular kind of chlorine pool, definitely going to be helpful for you to balance that. And in the hot tub, it's been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, that's not something I've had to think about. Although, when we got the hot tub, one of the things that was concerning me about it was being able to manage pH levels, chlorine levels, and all of those things. And being able to do that with smart tech sounds really appealing to me, because at the moment that's something I can't really do without getting someone else involved who's sighted. So that irritates me. It'd be great to have some more control over that. This sounds like a brilliant device. I want one. Can you send me one, please?
I will work on that for sure. So we've talked about speakers. We've talked about keeping our pool balanced, but there's so much more when it comes to the great outdoors. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back here on Double Tap TV, I'm going to pop over the grill here, and I'm going to tell you about a really cool device that's going to make sure that your meat is perfect every single time, Stephen.
Oh, now you're talking.
It is Double Tap TV. He is Stephen Scott. I am Mark AFLALO. Feedback at AMI.CA, the email address. On Twitter, it is at DoubleTapCanada. We take a quick break and come back on the barbecue.
For more great Double Tap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap. This is Double Tap TV.
We are back on Double Tap TV. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, the email address, I love throwing this out, feedback at AMI.CA. It's because we want to hear from you guys. Feedback at AMI.CA. On Twitter, it is at DoubleTapCanada. And use the hashtag AskDoubleTap, because we know you've got questions. We know you have comments. Everybody likes to chime in. So those are a couple ways for you to chime in. We love hearing from you guys, so please do get in touch with us. Stephen Scott, welcome back. We've talked about sound. We've talked about keeping that chemical balance in our pool just right. Things that you'd think, not necessarily easy to do, suddenly made a little bit easier thanks to technology, which is why I love being in this field.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, a lot of this is fun stuff. It makes our life more fun. And I kind of love the way we do this show, because we talk about things that you're using as a sighted guy that I can benefit from as a blind guy. And that's what's brilliant about this. It really just, it levels the playing field for us. That's what the show's all about. But this is all great and wonderful, Mark, but I believe you're next to a grill.
I am. You know what? The grill is right behind me, conveniently placed on my outdoor set. And there's a reason here. I've got a nice Weber grill here. This is the GS4 Spirit 2. I'm going to be honest, when it comes to actual grill technology, there are people who really know their business. I know that Weber is a great name when it comes to grilling, which is why I went for this one. I was tired of getting those really cheap ones that kept falling apart every year. So I got my Weber grill last year, and on the Weber grill here, there's a little area that says iGrill 3 Ready. And what that is it's just, it's not a gimmick, but it's a very cool device that's now called Weber Connect, which I'm holding in my hand over here. This is a small black ominous device that charges with a micro USB cable and has these 4 little circular ports on the top of it. And what are those meant for? Those are meant for our temperature probes, which are in my other hand. So I'm going to separate these. It comes with 2 in a pack. You can of course get that with more than 2 if you have obviously more than 2 pieces of meat or items on the barbecue. The cool thing about this, while I actually connect this for you, is that you pair this device with the iGrill app, with the Weber Connect app. You plug in your probe and you unwind the actual probe itself, and the actual device turns on and it shows you a temperature reading. So right now it's saying 80 degrees. Now this is just the outdoor temperature reading. What I'm going to do is you actually take the probe and you plug it in and you push it into the fattest part or the thickest part of whatever meat you might be cooking. Once you do that, and of course the grill is ready to go and the meat's on the barbecue, you launch the app and you say, okay, this is what I'm cooking. So in this case, we'll say, okay, I'm cooking a nice filet mignon. I want it medium well. And it knows exactly what temperature the inside needs to be in order to have exactly that type of cooking. Of course, the app goes into way more detail in terms of ways that you can grill, ways that you can spice. It gives you great cooking tips. But at its core, literally you plug it in and it reports back via Bluetooth the status of your meat. So it will tell you when you're getting close, when you're within about 5 minutes of your actual perfect temperature. And the coolest thing is, now, Stephen, I don't know how much grilling you do at home, but I do a lot, especially in the summer. Winter, I find it hard to get to the actual barbecue, so I don't do it as much. But when you take a piece of meat off a barbecue, it's still cooking because it's still pretty hot. It takes about 5 or 10 minutes for it to cool down and to stop the cooking process. So let's say medium well was about 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You actually want to take it off at about 160 so that it continues that cooking to 165 on the counter while it's actually settling in. It actually knows about that, so it tells you it's time to take it off the grill because it's going to cook to that temperature once you get that off the grill. So it's smart enough to detect that, and it's smart enough for any type of meat. We're not talking about just red meat, we're talking about poultry, we're talking about fish, we're talking about a variety of different things that you can think of. And because it's app-based, they're constantly updating it. And in terms of simplicity, I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than a probe that plugs into your meat and a temperature reading on the actual thermostat itself, the actual little black device. And the cool thing about this is the whole back is magnetic. So when you look at your grill, you could pop it anywhere on your grill and it's just going to stick there, just like this. Or you could pop it on the specific area that says iGrill Ready, which is what it was meant for. It was called iGrill before. But I like to just kind of stick it on the grill anywhere while it's actually probing my meat. I know this sounds really bad, but yes, it's probing my meat to make sure I get it to the perfect temperature.
That's amazing. And, you know, again, this is something which actually a lot of blind people have been ahead of the curve on, because food thermometers, in that sense, these technologies have been around for a long time. And for blind people, that was exactly how we used to cook food in our homes. We would use these food thermometers to be able to identify what the temperature was of the food, make sure it was cooked through as it should be. Because, you know, if I cut open some meat or I cut open some chicken, I can't tell. I've got no way of knowing if it's cooked properly or not, if it's pink or whether it should be the color it's meant to be, in red or whatever color it's meant to be. So I don't know any of that.
Let's finish off on a very cool kind of tandem here, okay? You know, we talked about off the top of the show watering your lawn and how much of a pain that could be. There's 2 devices I want to talk about. One is by Gardena, another one is by iHome. Both are smart timers for your actual sprinkler and your hose. Very simple. They go in line at your spout and your hose plugs in the bottom, and you could set a schedule either manually on the Gardena or with an app on the iHome version, and it could actually turn your hose on or off for the desired period of time. You can choose alternating days. You can create a whole automation schedule. But what I really wanted to end off on, Stephen, was a company that is mostly North American, but they have, you know, extended their footprint, and that's Husqvarna. Now, you may pronounce that differently in different places. When I did an interview with someone from the company, he pronounced it a different way. But Husqvarna has been making lawnmowers and kind of these lawn robots, so to speak. Whether it's a big, giant palatial estate and you've got a ride-on mower, or these brand new auto mowers. Now, I know you've got the new iRobot device at your home for vacuuming, but imagine a device like that sits in a charging station and that every single day maps out your lawn and goes and does a nice little cut around your lawn and makes sure that everything is perfect without ever having to lift a finger. That's what the auto mower does.
I mean, again, this is, I mean, you know, it is in some cases, a lot of people laugh at this kind of tech. They say it's a bit of a gimmick. It's you know, it's never going to be as good as doing it yourself. And I'll maybe ask you that question in a minute, because that's the question. Is it as good as a lawnmower by doing it yourself? But ultimately, you know, this again enables independence. And that, you know, I've spoken to this company. We've talked to Roomba, and we're going to be talking about the iRobot coming up soon. You know, and all of that. But this kind of technology, this smart tech around the home, out in the garden, really does enable independence, because it enables someone who, with a disability, whether they're blind or have another or additional disability, the chance to do the things that they want to do themselves without having to ask someone else. You know, at the moment, for example, I don't have one of these robot lawnmowers, but I do have a gardener, so I've got to have somebody to come do the garden for me. That costs money, and it means I've got to talk to him and all that annoying stuff. And, you know, that's all fine. But, you know, the reality is that, you know, I'd kind of rather do this myself. I'd rather be able to be in charge of that, be in my, you know, charge of the destiny of it. So this sounds good. But yeah, to that question, how good is it?
It's actually really good. You know, if you have a landscaper or someone who comes and does your gardening for you, typically they come once a week, they do the full lawn, and then they're done, and they come back a week later. This device is actually smart enough, because of battery time, obviously, and because it maps your lawn. It cuts a smaller amount of grass on a more frequent basis, which is actually better for the grass itself and better for the life of it. So it'll do a pass, it'll come back, it'll charge. The next day it'll do a pass, it'll come back, it'll charge. It maps the lawn with lasers and actual depth sensing and GPS, so it knows exactly where it's cut and how much it's cut. And it actually doesn't really cut the grass as much as it mulches it, so it leaves it in place to be used as fertilizer. So it really does help make your lawn healthier in the long run, while also making it one of these set it and forget it. Because once you do set it up, it's going to charge automatically, it's going to map things automatically, and they make these in various shapes and sizes. If you've got a small lot of land, no problem, they have a lower model for you. Got a big lot of land with a lot of inclines, they've got models that go up to 45-degree angles. It can cross driveways, lots of various things that you can do. You can set the perimeter with a little wire in your lawn so it never escapes it. And as I said, because it has GPS built in, if for some reason it doesn't make it back, you can also locate it thanks to the app. And of course, with the app being there as well, you can see exactly what it's done and how it's going to make things and make your life a lot easier for you.
Well, it's hard to disagree with any of that. You were hoping to try this, I know, on the show. I'm assuming this is something you are going to be falling in love with because it'll make you lazier.
I don't know if I would use the word lazy as I would use the word efficient a little bit more than lazy.
Fine. Yeah, okay.
But you know what? You know, there's probably so many other places we can go, but we don't have time. But we will, of course, post links to this on all our social media. We've got that Sonos speaker. We've got the Weber Connect thermostat. We've got the Finn chemical monitor for the pool and the hot tub. The Husqvarna auto mower. So many cool things for you to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this episode, Stephen. It was fun talking about this stuff with you. Hopefully, we can reverse roles and maybe get you outside the house next week, no?
Well, it depends on the weather. It always does.
If you guys have any questions or comments about anything we talked about today, it's feedback at AMI.CA, and of course on Twitter it is at DoubleTap Canada. And don't forget that hashtag AskDoubleTap. On behalf of Stephen Scott, I am Mark AFLALO. Thank you guys for being here. We'll speak to you again next week on DoubleTap TV.
For more great DoubleTap TV content, visit AMI.CA/DoubleTap.
Hosted by Mark AFLALO and Stephen Scott. Editing, Will Attar and Mark AFLALO. Production assistants, Wendy Kaufman. Integrated Describe Video Specialist, Ron Rickford. Coordinating producer, Jennifer Johnson. Director Production, CARA. Director Programming, Brian Perdue. VP Programming and Production, John Melville. President and CEO, David Arrington. Copyright 2020, Accessible Media, Inc.